My name is Przemysław Pyznarski, and I'm a tech lead in IDEMIA, Digital Lab Poland. Me and my colleagues, we work mainly on SDKs and applications which heavily use biometric technology and biometric features in these applications. I believe that is one of the main reasons why I have privilege today to give you a presentation about this topic. Overall, the main goal of this presentation is to build an awareness among you what biometric technology is, how it works, what are the pros and cons of using it in your mobile applications, because we believe, and it's already happening, that sooner or later, each one of you as a mobile engineers, is going to have to do some sort of the implementation of any of this technology, of any features from this technology. I hope that by the end of this presentation, it will be very easy for you as engineers, whenever there is a request or requirement in the application which we are going to design or build, that is some sort of reference to use a specific biometric technology, that it will be very easy for you to identify pros and cons of the solutions which you would like to implement, the techniques which you would like to use. I hope that you will be aware how secure is a specific solution which you are going to propose, I don't know, to a product owner or whoever is in charge, and that you will be aware about the obstacles and challenges which lie ahead on the roadmap of the biometric technology. We would like to focus and work and see how this biometric technology in a more global way. So this presentation is not going to focus on a custom-made devices and a custom sensors. So all those of you who are counting that I'm going to mention something about Face ID or Touch ID, that's not the case. We believe in more common solutions, which is available around the world to almost every user who has average phone and working sensors, which is a camera in this scenario. Everything what I'm going to show you today is in a reference to the is seen as biometric technology is seen from the mobile perspective. That's the one thing on which we are going to focus today. There will be no algorithm here. There are two main reasons. First of them, it's not a mathematician conference, and second of them, I believe that when we go in this matter, trying to dive deep in them, most of you will just fall asleep within 5 minutes. One more thing, as I was told that this title is a little bit mysterious, I have to apologize because I'm going to elaborate about it like closer to the end of the presentation, not right now. Okay, so let's jump in. I always wanted to be a director, and maybe this is a chance for me to show some of my talents. This is a short story, an introduction story, which I would like to share with you. The title is Epic Love Story. Let me introduce to you a main character. The name of this character is John. John is a casual guy, like you and me. He spent half of his life working, trying to develop different mobile applications, trying to earn tons of money. And the second half of his life, playing a different variety of different games. But suddenly, there was one day who actually changed everything in his life. He realized that he's alone. He needs a second half of his life, a girlfriend with which he will be able to spend the rest of his life. So basically what he did, as all casual guys do, he cleaned himself up, washed in the nice clothes, and go to the club. There he is, sitting sadly in front of the desk with a beer in his hand, looking on all the beautiful girls who are dancing in the back of the stage, yet he's unable to establish any relationship with them, any. He has a pretty low esteem. This guy is like not self-confident at all. It's difficult for him to start even the simplest interaction with the girl, to start the simplest conversation. So he was going to give up. But he came to an idea that he actually called Bob. Bob is a good friend of John from his childhood. And he is totally opposite to John. Bob is like, he feels like a lion in the jungle when he is in the pub or a club, and there is a lot of girls around them. His chit-chat is pretty smooth. He is able to start conversation with almost anyone on any topics which he would like to have. In fact, he already knew a lot of girls who are there in this club. And luckily for John, Bob agreed, to help, to assist with establishing some sort of relationship with the girl. And he arrived to the club. So there are two of them. And there is one beautiful girl. Her name is Kate. That's another character in our story. Kate, oh my God. She knocked out John immediately off his feet. He fell in love immediately. And luckily, Bob already knew Kate. And he thinks, yeah, why not? Maybe I will give Guy a chance. I will introduce them to each other and see how it's going to evolve, right? So basically what he did, he introduced them to each other. John immediately fell in love, immediately. Kate say hi to John, and John say hi to Kate. Now there was some sort of the relationship established between them. So now on, whenever John is going to see Kate on the other side of the street or during a jogging in the park, he is able to wave a hand to her and have a slight chance that she is going to wave back, right? That she is going to recognize him. I know, the plot is impressive. The action is tense. So I'm going to tell you right now that this story, which we describe here, is covering like 99% of all of the use cases of biometric techniques, whichever you will ever have to do and implement as a mobile engineers, right? Let's do a short review of what happened here. Basically, when Kate saw John, she used her all available sensors to acquire as many attributes as possible about this guy. These attributes, basically, we can divide them in any different groups, but the most popular one are physical. That's the stuff which we are like very easy relatively to measure. The distance between your eyes, the width of your nose, how the cheekbones, your cheekbones looks like, where are your ears. These are the physical, and there are also behavioral attributes. So the behavioral are the way you walk, the way you move, maybe some sort of the nervous tick, which we are able to identify in a specific person. And what Kate did with all of this information, she basically created something which we call a template, or a personal template. This is all these information which she was able to acquire, and you are unfortunately unable to see now, and I have no idea why. Yeah, got it. She just stored them in the back of her head, like in her memory, right? So now when she's going to see someone which she thinks might be a John, she's going to recall the template and compare as many attributes as she is able to acquire at that time using her sensors and compare that with the template. If the score which she receives, a lot of attributes will be the same, she will allow John to have some sort of interaction with her. And believe me, John loves to have access to the systems of Kate. Very important person in this story is Bob. Because what Bob did, he basically allowed the enrollment of attributes of John to the system of Kate. In all the use case scenarios which you will ever have on the mobile devices, the biometric feature, the biometric technology is heavily used using an authorization process, which is part of the enrollment process, right? When we want to enroll to a specific system and have an authorization to access that resources. But about enrollment, we will talk a little bit later. So this is a generic biometric system which basically applies to each biometric systems which you will ever meet. There are 5 main components. Sensors, through which we are able to acquire an attribute. Feature extractor, that's the place where all the algorithms are trying to extract these attributes. Database, of course, we have a database where we store all our templates and all this information which we are able to acquire. The crucial part is comparator and decision. These 2 components are the heart of the biometric system. Comparator is responsible of comparing the template with the attributes which we are able to acquire and give a score. each time we are talking about the biometric technology, and there's some sort of the decision that needs to be made, if someone should have access to a specific system, the outcome of the comparator is the score. It is a decision component who needs to decide if the score is high enough and the person should be allowed to access to our system or should be denied. Okay? Not this one. Yeah. So now to the enrollment process with use of a biometric technology. Basically, most of the situations in which we have to use a biometric technology is linked to enrollment. And this enrollment usually happens to be enrollment to some sort of the government systems on third-party government system, but not always. That's the most use case example, most popular example. It's happening because the first question which we need to answer during this enrollment is, what do you have? And it happens that I have an ID card, or example, mobile driving license, or any other sort of legit document which was issued by some of the government entity. We just scan this document, deliver it to the backend. The document there is going to be verified if that's a legit document. And the second part of the enrollment, usually in the current, most popular systems, is what you know. So basically, we are asking the user, do you know the password? It's usually a password, but it's not accurate, because what we want to know exactly is not that this person who is standing remotely in front of the sensors knows the password. We want to know if the person who knows this password is the person that it claims to be, right? So it's a little bit misleading at this moment. So with an enrollment with the use of biometric technology, we need to answer the question who you are. And in our case, as we have a remote mobile device, we can use, and we are talking about average casual phones with not custom-made sensors, we have basically like two options. Either it's a face recognition or fingerprint readers. These are two options which we have. Based on the information which we are acquired during this part of the enrollment, during this step, and the comparator, which have to compare all the informations, I don't know, maybe from the picture which was uploaded in the document, and there was already some sort of the attributes in the government database, with the information which we are able to acquire through this, the process of the face recognition or fingerprint scanning, we are able to make a decision if there is a live person which we have on the photo of the document, of the ID, right? So that's how it happens that this document is going to be enrolled. Document. Mobile device is going to be enrolled, right? There are two ways, two scenarios for which we use a biometric technology. One of them is authorization, and second is identification. Authorization is comparing one-to-one attributes which we have, and identification is one-to-many. In both of these scenarios, the outcome is a score, and it's up to system to decide if it's high enough, right? Okay, the first part of the movie was a blast, so we decided to do a sequel. The sequel is called More Epic Love Story. And this is one of our main characters, Kate. She is dancing alone in the club. What can we say? She loves clubbing. And John is now near her, right? But John, he has a deadline, a tight deadline, so he is unable to have a party with Kate. And he has a lot of stuff that needs to be done. So Kate is alone. And let me introduce you the main bad character of the story. This is Sam. Sam is a very good friend of John. And that's very important. They know each other since the childhood. He knew about the relationship between John and Kate. He saw maybe a picture, a video of them together on the Facebook or any other social media means. And he immediately fell in love with Kate. Yes, you see the plot? I already mentioned that he is the best friend of John. But despite that, he decided that he will behave like a true best friend, and she decided to start stalking her. And it happens that he found out the situation when she was totally alone, and he decided, why not? Let's try to hit on her. Fortunate for John, Kate was a decent girl, so he denied, right? She doesn't want to have a relationship with Sam at that time. So Sam was a little bit frustrated. So what he decided? He came to the crazy idea that if he is going to look like John, then this way maybe he is going to increase his chances of success, right? And there it is. Kate already saw Sam approaching her, and now she needs to take a decision. That's a huge cliffhanger, right? What happened here? Basically, this form of attack, when someone is trying to impersonate any other person, we call it a spoofing attack, right? So that's exactly what happened with Sam here. All the countermeasures to find out if we have, in this situation, is a spoofing attack or there is a spoof person, on the countermeasures, we basically name them liveness check or liveness challenge. Okay? So back to our generic systems. These are all the points of attack, potential points of attack to our system. As we are focusing only on the mobile device, which is a remote, general in our scenario, general remote sensor, we need to focus only these two of them. Fake biometrics and replay of the old data. But what it means to cheat a biometric system? In order to answer this question, we need to see how this biometric system is taking, how we can calibrate this system to tell him when he should deny a specific attempt or access or allow for access for a specific attempt to the systems. This chart represents on the horizontal axis a verification score, and on the vertical one, it's a normalized count. So the amount, how many a specific score value appears in our data set, right? So in order to learn our newly designed system, how he should work, basically we provide him a set of data. The first set is a set of data which we call imposters. So these are non-effort attempts to try and see if you are able to pass through the biometric security check. For example, you have a short walk in the office and you see someone's laptop and there is a fingerprint reader. And what you do, you basically try, if it works, it's working with your finger, right? So you did nothing to increase your chances of being accepted to the system. You do nothing crazy like any silicon, overlay on your finger or something like that. So the verification score in our example is close to 4. The higher, then better. Next, we provide a set of data, which is a set of data of valid users, the users who should be accepted by the system. As you can already see, there is a very crucial point here, where some of the blue and red graphs overlaps. And that's a very problematic thing in biometric technology, but we will get to that in a second. We need to establish a function which describes a threshold. So everything what is on the right side from the threshold will be accepted by our system. Everything of what is on the left is going to be denied. Based on that, we use something which is called FWR, which is named false rejection rate. This is the amount of genuine attempts which are on the left from the threshold function, the users who should be accepted, but they weren't for some reasons. Maybe the sensor is not good enough. He was unable to acquire all these attributes. There is also a false acceptance rate. That's very problematic from our programmer point of view, because it's going to jeopardize the security of our system, right? Because these are all these attempts which shouldn't be accepted, but they were, yet they were. Of course, there is a function which describes threshold. For the simplification in this graph, it's just like straight line, but it can have any other function describing the threshold. And there is a data set on which we are working. Based on that, by the way, that's the only equation that I'm going to show you here, so don't worry. We have a half total error rate. The lower, then better. Then our system is more accurate. The user experience is like close to perfect, if it's close to 0, right? And the system is secure. To simplify everything, there is another set of data. These are all the spoofs attempts which are happening in our systems, right? So they are somewhere in the middle. So right now, we have to make a decision. Do we want to build, to calibrate a system which is like really secure. So we move this threshold to the right. So we will have like close to 100% sure that only the highest verification score have right to access our system. But from the user perspective, it's going to be the nightmare because you need to try again, again until the sensor is able to acquire all these attributes in a perfect shape. Or should we move the threshold to the left, making this way like more user-friendly systems? So you do not need high-class sensor in order to gather all these attributes. So there will be a lot of persons who are spoofers or who are non-effort attempts who are able to access this system, right? It's up to us. So now we will look in our use case scenario. We have an application, a remote application, in which we would like to implement a face recognition technique software as a mean of authorization. We are going to choose a face recognition because in order to do that, the only sensor which we need is a camera, right? And the face recognition, according to all the researchers, is the highest easily accepted way in all the communities of identifying a person. In a common life, when you want to identify a specific person, you need to see his face, right? You can judge if that's the person that you think based on his walk. But when you see his face, you are able to say, hi, hello, it's me. Oh, I'm sorry, I take you for someone else. And the second reason is that because the users who have a chance to do a face recognition software, they basically use the gesture, which is a very popular one, and you should already know about that. It's a famous selfie, right? The users was already educated how to center your face in the screen. So we already have an educated base of users who should, at least that's what we expected, be able to do a genuine try with our application to pass the authorization. So in our application, we will have like one screen with some sort of the hint instruction that the user needs to center his face on the screen, right? On the bottom of the slide, we have a timeline. On the left side, we have the moment when the user has actually started our application. And on the right side is the moment, which are marked, when the user was verified and he is able, and he should be able, to have access to our systems, right? The first item which we introduce is a face capture. Of course, there are different algorithms. The face capture works this way, that right now we are able to identify 80 unique points on each face of the people around the world. Different systems use different variations of these points in order to verify if that's the face we think it is, right? So based on the information which I have heard, I haven't checked that, it's 15 to 20 points. That's enough to identify if that's the face of a specific person. What we store when we do a face recognition, is a template which is called a face print. The face print, it holds all the information between distances between different nodal points. These nodal points are these unique points which we are able to identify on the face. We do not store the information where your ear is, for example. We store the information what is the distance between your nose and your ear, right? The distance between your eyes. That's the information which we store. We do not say, so even if this template is going to, I don't know, leak somehow, and someone has the information how these templates look like, right? It's still pretty secure, more secure, at least more secure than a hashed password. Because at this point, you have no idea how to reproduce, let's call it, I don't know, for example, a mask or a face in some sort of the video rendering program to look alike based on the information which you have in template. Because you have no idea which distances were measured and which one are the crucial one and which one we store in the template, right? So on the bottom of this slide, we have I will mark with this grayish color the short instructions which the user needs to obey in order to be able to pass through our liveness check. Not this way, okay. So we have a spoofer who wants to hack our system, who wants to steal someone's identity. And this is the 21st century. It's relatively easy. The printer's quality, the scanning mechanism is like has a very high quality. It's not difficult to find a photo that someone is not aware that there is even in the internet, right? So all our spoofer needs to do, he's going just to print the photo. Hello, Schwager. All you need to do is basically to print the photo and provide it in front of our sensor. That's it. He is in. So what we can do, we can add some additional checks on our side, additional information that force user or instruct the user to move his head a little. This way, we are able to notice in the sequence of the pictures, of the images which we are going to capture, if the distance between crucial nodal points are changing in a specific way. There is a sequence. Whenever you turn your head left or right, each of the distance between like some of the crucial points are changing in a specific way. So that's what we are looking for. And if there was like a picture, so there is no way to cheat our system that is a 3D, right? So we have a very persistent spoofer, and he is going to create a video, or maybe he was able to download one from the internet or record some by any other means. And right now, he's able to have a 3D, which is going to display in another screen, and again, cheat our system. So what we do, we introduce a different variety of liveness challenges, plus, of course, with additional instructions. This should help us with all this type of spoofs, so these recorded videos. Basically, the liveness challenges, the basic form, which is the most popular way around the world, looks like this. We are able to relatively easy to identify a few gestures. Is it turn your left, turn your head left, turn your head right, open, close your mouth, blink, and that's it. These are all the gestures which we are relatively easily able to find out by the sequence of the pictures which we receive. So from our perspective, the liveness challenge, which we will find in the 99 or 90% of all the applications which are out there in the world, looks like this, that there is a sequence of the instructions. What gesture should the user do in a specific amount of time, of course. And this way, if the user is following the instruction, he's moving the way as he should be, we are able to verify if that's a live person, or at least that liveness challenge is working against the countermeasure to all of this spoof scenario presented before. But we have a very stubborn spoofer. So basically what the spoofer is going to do, he is going to have a programmed animation. Or maybe he will have a sequence of all these gestures already recorded, and he is able, trigger each one of them with just the press of the keyboard, right? What we do, we add more complex liveness challenges. And there is like some ideas how to do that. One of them is presented right here. So what you receive from the server is the information about the position of all these points. The amount of these points, of course, is configurable. The starting position is also randomized a little. And you have to move this white dot with the movement of your head to a specific point according to the number for the lower to the higher number, and stay there for a specific amount of time until the point is circled with this green time counter. When you do it like properly with all of these points, then you have passed the liveness check, liveness challenge basically, right? So it's at more complexity to reproduce and to have such animation, because you need to have, for example, with a joystick, a full control over the animation of the head of the person which this head should copy it, right? But it's not an ideal solution. If we have a very persistent, stubborn spoofer, the people are able to do that, and there were examples when something like that happened. So basically what we introduce is a means to detect a video. And one of the approaches is to have an illumination detection. How it works is that when we start the challenge, we set the brightness of the screen to the highest possible value. And the application receives from the server an instruction, a sequence of color, which should be displayed for a specific amount of time. And the user has been told that he cannot move his head. He needs to be still. And during, for example, a second, on the full screen, we display each of these colors. And what we are able to do so with processing the images which we are able to capture, we are able to find out what is the spectrum of the color which affects a 3D and the flat surface. That's the difference. The screen has a different density than the skin. So this color, which is displayed on our face, we are able to check if that's actually a video, right? So we are protected against programmed animation. Of course, there is a lot of other analyses which are taking place in the behind the curtain. The user is not aware of them. We can check if the texture is actually a screen, if the person is blinking, and so on and so on. All of them, of course, have impact on the speed of our solution, right? It would be fair if I mentioned this, because there is another way of preparing a spoofing attack by creating a silicon mask. And that is #1 concern of the liveness challenges around the world right now. There is no good solution against the silicon mask. There are some attempts and research which are being made in order to fight with them. First of them, basically there is an algorithm on which certain people are working, which is focusing about the area around your eye, because that's the place when it's the easiest way to find out if there is a border of the mask. One of the most difficult parts of the human body, which is used in a biometric technology and difficult to copy, is our eye. So basically, the silicon mask is not going to cover that. It cannot cover that. So that's one of the approaches how to fight with the silicon mask. The next of them is that we basically use the fact that the person needs to be alive and the person have a pulse. So below your eye, there is a place which we are able to find out and identify. We are not able, basically, in most use cases, we are not able to verify that with a bare eye, but we are able to verify that by processing the images captured by the camera, that our skin is pulsing. It's trembling a little. The situation is that when you have a silicon mask on you, you are unable to mimic that, right? So that's one of the possible checks. The awareness of the market is that the expectation of the market to the biometric technology is that in this year, the standard was that you need to provide a solution which is video-proof. And the expectation for the next year is that this liveness check needs to be silicon mask-proof. That's the expectation of the market. So here there are all the information which can affect, which the user who is actually trying to pass our challenge must be aware of. And he needs to go to proceed with all the instructions which we display here, right? This is a lot of stuff. From the user perspective, he just wants to show your face, hey, it's me, done, right? But he needs to follow all of these instructions. So it's a complex from the user perspective, right? And basically in the system, there are usually 3 actors. We have a programmer whose main concern, one of the main concerns is the security. We have a spoofer whose one of the main concerns is the security. And we have a user who don't give anything if this solution is secure as long as you tell it's secure, right? I want to be a user-friendly. So this is one of the biggest challenges which lies ahead of the biometric technique in use of the mobile devices. We need to build a language. Don't show this card. Don't show this card. Yeah, not yet. Don't show this card. I have a lot of stuff to say. So we need to build a language with which we are able to easily communicate with the user. We need to educate them. If I tell you right now that you need to implement a screen with a PIN code, enter PIN code, what do you imagine? You immediately imagine like almost empty screen with 4 to 10 text input fields, a keyboard, which appears automatically on the screen, right? Only digits. Why only digits? But everyone would say, most of you, only digits. When you press a specific digit, it's going to be swapped for a specific character, like a star. But then I'm going to say someone that he needs to implement a liveness challenge. He's, what? What? It's like that. And this is one of the biggest challenges. I'm going to show you some other ideas how this liveness challenge could work. This is one of them. Basically, we have a target and a crosshair. And what we need to move our head toward this target, right? Simple. When we move to one, the second is going to appear somewhere on the screen. It's basically very intuitive. And this is my favorite one. Whenever on the screen we have a lasers and UFO, it's relatively simple and obvious for everyone that we need to point the lasers to UFO, right? We need to destroy this UFO. That's our goal. And what's more, in all of our liveness challenge, in order to detect a looped video with some strange gestures, in all of our liveness challenge, I'm not sure if you noticed, whenever you drag a specific point to a dot or a crosshair to a target, you need to stare there for a while, just to make sure that it's not a looped video, right? With the UFO, it's relatively simple. You have a UFO, and when you point a laser on that, it's going to starting to be like smashed, destroyed, right? And you want to see this UFO finally blown, so you are keep your eyes in this place, just to trying to destroy this UFO as much as possible until it's going to blow. Of course, these use cases and this scenario, they are not applicable to, I don't know, like a VIP application for banking, right? So, yeah. Okay, I believe I owe you an explanation about this title. I believe that this puzzle was not difficult to solve. So, 7 continents is a virtual world through which we would just love to travel, accessing a different system with the use of our mobile device. And in order to do that, we need to be able to authenticate, do an identification in a completely remotely way. And we as an IDEMIA, we believe that, yes, the mobile device is ready to do so. The biometric technology is providing us a huge opportunity to increase the security in each of these applications. Maybe not like the only one-factor authentication, but in the way of the 2-factor authentication, one of them, right? But that's the question on which each and one of you needs to answer by himself at this point. The easiest exercise is you have a banking application with an account on which you have all your money. And there is an option, only one, that you are enabled. Either to do a verification, confirmation of a wire transfer with a PIN code, or with a liveness challenge. That's up to you to answer to this question. Our goal is to make sure that this story is not going to end this way, where there is a Sam dancing with Kate, when Kate is fully convinced that apparently it's a John. But it's going to end its happy ending, where John and Kate live happily ever after. Thank you.
So what would prevent an attacker from creating a more advanced animation with, for example, would react to the color change of the frontal camera, for example, and apply it to the model of the face?
Okay, so the Illumination challenge, because that's the one you are referring to, right? It's not going to detect each video spoof, because there are different surfaces of the screen. So it's not an ideal one. In the case which you described, one of the things which we are comparing is the way that the color is affecting the material, the density of the material. And the density of the screen is completely different than the density of the skin. That's the trick here.
Does the amount of melatonin in the skin affect the illumination detection? For example, people have skin diseases or anything that could affect such a system in any way?
Okay. Basically, it shouldn't. I'm not sure if we have tested it, but for sure we have tested this solution with a different culture, with a different ethnic culture, where the color skin is an important factor, which was took under consideration. And I personally have no chance to test that, but I was told that it's working. We are able to detect that.
And how much false negatives do you have in such a system? Does the users get frustrated with all the work? Because it looks like hard work.
Okay, so I cannot answer straight to this question, because it depends how the system is calibrated. That's the part where I explain how the threshold function goes. And is it set to much more secure system, That's completely up to the architect of the solution and the way how we teach the biometric system how he should react for a specific score which you are able to achieve. There is no one straight question to that.
And the last question.
Sure.
So basically, do you take the aging factor somehow into this?
Yes, about aging factor. I'm not sure what is the minimum age, but from some age, in all of the people around the world, the distance between this nodal point which we measure, the ratio of them is not changing, or is changing slightly. We do not, as I said, we do not keep the information where the specific points are. We measure distance between them, right? That's why I said, I'm not sure what is the minimum age from which it's not going to change. So I believe to answer no. But does the children have the ID card, mobile driving license? Okay, sure.
What is your responsibility in case of failures? You said that trusted with major industrial OEMs and banking, I don't know, the license, driver license. I guess there are a lot of failures, like with the NDA, not NDA, in the early days when every science come up with some idea to verify some identity that they had a flaw, and people got to jail. And yeah, somebody had to respond. And in software, it is unusual to respond for the software, right? Yeah. So the question is.
Okay, that's actually a fair question. So it's up to the system we are talking about. I'm not talking about I haven't described here like precise only one solution. It depends. If it's a government system, then we just set this threshold maximum on the right on this chart. So there will be a lot of genuine fair attempts. The people who should be accepted, they will be denied, but they should be accepted to have access to this system. So that's only the matter of the amount, how high score you need to achieve, right? Which is satisfying for you. There is a constant work on improving all of this algorithm. There is a lot of money invested in that. This is a strong R&D area. No one is trying to cheat anyone. There are more mature solutions and the one which are strong R&D. And honestly, I have no idea how to respond about a responsibility for the software in this situation, because it basically depends on the system which it was implemented. But the only way for us to make sure that we have a pretty secure system is to make it much more difficult, unfortunate, for the user, because he needs to try a lot of attempts that we have perfectly, that we are able to perfectly read all these points where they are.
Is massive weight loss or gain going to affect your template or no?
I like the question like that. No.
What about accidents and, well, I will have accidents and my face will change. And how can I redesign my mask?
Okay, so you are mentioning about a topic basically which is covering a plastic surgery, injury to your face, and changing generally your appearance. So if it's an advanced plastic surgery, then yes, your template won't match when you try to do authorization. And you need to update your template during the enrollment process, which we described in the entity and governmental third-party entity to which systems you would like to have access. There is no other way. Yes, it definitely affects the template and the score which you will receive during each of our challenges. Okay, thank you very much.